Thank you for being with us in the 24/7 grind on another dope segment, Hours with the Elders, where we bridge the gap of information, experience, and wisdom, dropping gems and jewels for those who are committed to making a difference in their communities. He's on his way in. Greetings and welcome to Hours with the Elders. That was such a great intro, I have to say. I hope you did not miss that intro. Anywho, tonight is Friday, and we have KADIN MCElWAIN, who will be dropping in. And we're going to get acquainted with this young man because he is doing some great things in his community. So as soon as KADIN taps in, we'll get started. Thank you so much for being.
Yo, thanks for having me.
KADIN, it is great for you to be here. Welcome to 24/7 Grind Inc. Hour with the Elders. That is Mr. General, P.NUT the General. Our co-host, my co-host are OG and Miss Dorothy Harris, and they will be dropping in shortly. So, KADIN, if you don't mind, we will get started. I want to start with your bio, and then I want to lead into the first question, if you don't mind.
I don't mind at all.
KADIN MCElWAIN is an artistic college student.
Wait, Miss Beaver. This is his story. Let him tell it.
Okay. Like you said, I'm an autistic college student, writer, and activist, pretty much on a mission. And that's to bring autism awareness to as many people's attentions as possible and make sure the cause is taken seriously in today's society, because I think that's a cause that's often neglected in mainstream media, and it confuses me. It does. It truly does. Congress and all of them focus on really stupid and petty issues like TikTok bans and what have you. So I want to make sure they focus on what really matters, which is helping people like me, people with special needs, people with autism, both high and low functioning. As someone with autism, I was often kicked to the curb and my capabilities were often questioned. But thanks to a really supportive set of parents who pushed me to my limit and my overall work ethic, I proved those naysayers wrong.
Well, let's start there. Let's start with your beginning. Tell us just about yourself in your childhood. I know you have siblings and with autism. Tell me about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was diagnosed when I was 2 years old. Coincidentally, after getting the smallpox vaccination. Of course, that didn't cause the autism, but hey, Brandon. But I always find it funny since that conspiracy theory is always out there. The theory that vaccines cause autism, which they don't, of course. It's most likely genetics and whatever food we eat, whatever chemicals are in that's a major factor. I couldn't talk until I was 7 years old, and elementary school, that was fine. That went by smoothly for me. People understood I had autism. They tried to be my friend, and I was actually popular. But middle school and high school, that was a nightmare. It truly was. In middle school, the bullying started. which is common in middle school and high school students, bullying amongst peers. But add someone with autism into the mix, and it just gets even harder for the individual. And in a way, I was bullied by adults too, because my IEP services, individualized education plan, in case you're wondering, that was completely cut off in middle school without my parents' knowledge or consent, which is actually illegal, believe it or not. I asked someone this once, and when my parents asked about that, the school said, "We can't tell he has autism. Sorry. He's doing well academically, doing well socially. Put him in a robotics camp," which is what you were getting at when you sent in that robotics question. They didn't make me take a robotics camp, they just suggested it. And my parents weren't going to tolerate that. So they wrote to every autism organization that in the state that the school was in, which was Tennessee at the time, and the state senator, because they knew I needed those services. So those services were put back into place in high school, where the bullying got even worse and the misunderstandings. Then COVID happened and everything was online. At first, I was upset because my routine was thrown off, which is actually very common in people with autism. They like to stick to their routines and what have you. But the more I got into it, the more I learned that I actually thrived better in an online setting. I could concentrate better. No need to worry about bullying. No need to worry about being treated like absolute garbage. Just me, my room, my laptop, and my academics. And I actually ended up graduating early on Valentine's Day of 2022.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations. So when you say, if you will, when you say bullying, right? What type of bullying did you go through?
Hmm. I would say the standard teasing. Looking back at it now, I probably misunderstood certain things as bullying or just being a douchebag. But a majority of it was bullying because I think students misunderstood what I was going through. Their parents didn't tell the class, the teachers didn't tell the class that I had autism, which I feel should be a case because at least then students might understand better and try to be friends with the individual with autism. And I think that was a major part of it. And that's what I love about college. It's back to elementary school where you're popular, people understand what you're going through, and they at least have some sort of respect. And if there's a few individuals that don't respect that and want to make you ashamed of who you are, which there are, that's just life, then don't give them the time of day. That's what I don't.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Do you could you talk about your diagnosis?
Like I said, when I was 2 years old, I was diagnosed. It
Mhm.
was coincidentally after getting the smallpox vaccination, which I always find funny. But lucky for me, I consider myself lucky because I was diagnosed as more high functioning, which means I'm extremely intelligent, but I just need help understanding certain social aspects of life, like facial expressions, social cues, use understanding red flags in the workplace, whether or not someone is taking advantage of you, taking things literally, stuff like that. Unfortunately, there are people on the lower end of the spectrum that can't walk, can't talk, can't maintain themselves physically or mentally, and they have to be taken care of for the rest of their lives, which is very sad to see because those parents aren't as supportive as mine were. My parents gave me the best therapies, best special education programs, best everything that money could buy because they knew what I was capable of.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, can you tell us about when you say you weren't born with it, but you got it coincidentally after a shot, right? Did you try and prove that?
Hmm. It's just a coincidence. No, it wasn't from the vaccination. It was genetics. I was most likely born with it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And can you tell us some of the You said that it was canceled, the schooling, right? The class that you ran.
Oh, oh, no, no, the middle school class.
No, 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 no. You said some type of program was canceled, right?
The curriculum for you for
Yeah.
Oh, the IEP.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was completely cut off in middle school without my parents' knowledge or consent because the school couldn't tell I was on the autism spectrum because they most likely defined autism as doing poorly academically and socially at the same time. What do we do? But I was intelligent in middle and high school. I did well academically. I had a couple of friends, but the problem was I still misunderstood social aspects. And I blame the school because they should know how to tell if someone's on the autism spectrum, in my opinion. They truly should.
So could you give us, if you feel, if you want, can you go back and give us some accounts so you could talk to, I guess, the bullies right now and the little kids? Can you kind of explain to us how it felt to you getting bullied, and can you kind of talk to the kids on how you got through it, please?
Yeah, absolutely. It felt horrible being bullied, and it most certainly felt horrible feeling misunderstood. I actually hated myself for a long time because of who I was, thanks to the bullying and me not understanding it personally. But how I got through it was having a supportive set of parents who helped me learn that having high functioning autism can actually be a really great thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What you got, Miss Reggie?
I know I want to transition to Kaden, the writer. Um, what style of writing and is your content? And describe to the audience your favorite character you have written about.
Uh, oh, I don't write about fiction. I used to write fan fictions when I was younger, or like ninth grade, 10th grade, but I don't really do that anymore because the community's honestly really toxic. There's always drama in the fan fiction and creepypasta community, but I mainly focus on sports journalism. I write for a site called The Sports Column. I've been writing there since I was 14 years old, and I've recently, yeah, that's great, Yana. IEP is an individual education plan which basically personalizes his learning experience so he can provide by giving him resources, extra time, etc., whatever he may need so he can learn and be comfortable. That's pretty much the gist of it.
Yeah,
But
that's my wife. She's a behavior analyst.
oh, see, his oh, oh, that has a bit more knowledge to himself then. All right. Anyway, so I mainly write about sports, and uh, I've recently branched out into writing advocacy pieces and op-eds about autism for this site called The Art of Autism, and I've been making some money off of that. Eventually, I want to branch out and do more newsworthy stuff for newspapers and hopefully make hundreds upon thousands of dollars.
How did you get into the writing, Kaden?
Hmm. I started writing with poetry when I was 11 years old on the social media site called All Poetry. Without my parents' consent, that was technically a social media site and forum, and they forbade social media for me until I was at least 18. But I was pretty smart for my age, so I managed to get around that rule in a way. And then I learned about the sports column, which is the site I told you about, the sports blog, and I hopped on there when I was 14, wrote an article about my cross country team at the time winning their third state championship in a row. And since that first article, I've written over 400 articles between that article, which was published in 2018, near the end of the year to be exact, and now.
Congratulations, man. Congratulations. Big body of work, right? Is it other forms of entertainment that you're interested in, or you just good with the writing and the writing the columns?
Hmm. I'm Also into music, I'm do vocals and play drums, play guitar, but I've been doing that mainly for fun. Although eventually I want to work in the music industry as a PR person, which is what I'm majoring in college, public relations.
Oh, okay. So, what is it about public relations that made you want to get into that field?
Well, at first it was mainly because I want to work in the music industry or the politics industry, and that was the most realistic way to do so. Without having to be a Juilliard performer or a child protege.
Yeah.
But the more I think about it, the more I learn that there's so much more to public relations that I could be into than meets the eye, such as advocacy, which is also a part of public relations, advocating for your company, media relations, which is also a major part of public relations, having relationships with the media, like the podcasts, the blogs, all these amazing things I've been doing this past year, and I learned that there's way more opportunities in public relations since than I previously knew about, such as working in politics, working for a nonprofit, something like that.
That's a lot. That's a lot, man. So we came here to bring mental health awareness to the public, right? So what's the number one in your opinion, Gaten? What's the number one most important thing that the public have misunderstood about the special needs community?
Hmm. Well, there's definitely a bunch of things. Just the other day, I watched this one film, Autism Speaks, that made me sick. Have y'all seen the film Autism Every Day? The 2006 propaganda film. It only focuses on the lower end of autism spectrum and parents' lives living through that. The problem I had with it was it focuses mainly on low functioning people on the spectrum, and it made it all about the parents and how they suffer, and not necessarily about that child. And when I was watching it, I thought, you do know there's also a spectrum, right? There are high functioning people on the spectrum.
Hmm.
Albert Einstein, he was on the spectrum. Dan Aykroyd, Elon Musk,
Uh,
some of the most successful people were on the autism spectrum, dude.
uh.
Uh, exactly. I love this. They have no limits. They can do whatever they put their mind to.
Yeah, hell yeah,
And
hell yeah. I didn't even know that. I didn't know that. So I'm learning. I'm you teaching me something. You teaching me something, Kaden. So let me ask you this, Kaden. Um, how speak to the families of people either with special needs or friends of the families of special needs. How can we better understand and take care of y'all?
I would say, do your research about autism and don't fall for the propaganda in films such as Autism Every Day that focus mainly on the low functioning end of the spectrum and the parents who suffer because of that, who didn't want a kid on the spectrum. And I would say, give your child a chance to thrive. Give them the resources they need. Be in their corner always. And if people question your capabilities as a parent, like I said before, don't give them the time of day.
Hmm. And you said you mentioned get your child the resources that they need. Are there enough resources available for the needs?
No, there's
Mm.
hardly any. And the ones that you do get, unfortunately, you have to provide proof of diagnosis, proof of citizenship, proof of all these things. And it's my opinion, I developed this a couple months ago, that once you're diagnosed with autism, you should never be questioned about that again. Just last week, I tried applying for Medicaid to help me better afford medical care so I can function as a human being in the United States. And they had you provide proof, which I found ridiculous because they should know I have autism. That should be enough. Yeah, I'm technically high functioning, so I might not need that as much, but I still need help with certain things. So that's my main issue. One of the many issues, actually. Don't require proof of diagnosis. Once you're diagnosed, that's that. You should never be questioned again.
Now you talk about a higher and a middle and a lower. Can you bring us through the spectrums that you're talking about, Kaden?
Yeah, absolutely. Higher end is where I'm at, where you're incredibly intelligent, you can take care of yourself, you just need help with certain social aspects. And the lower end is basically you can't walk, can't talk, can't maintain yourself, and you have to be taken care of for the rest of your life. Pretty much what you see in the Autism Everyday movie. There's actually some parents who don't even put their child in school, their autistic child, at least from what I saw in that film. Um, and that alone made me sick because you're not doing your job if you don't put your child in school and give them the chance to learn in an academic environment. Exactly what Yarn said. Help is out there. Don't be afraid to ask. That's the main thing. Thing. But to, uh, for both spectrums, I would say give your child a chance. Let them in the school setting, mainstream school. That's what my dad did, and I turned out amazing. Zing. Will it be risky? Yeah. Will there be issues? Yeah, but think of those as learning experiences.
Mhm.
Simply.
Thanks, thanks. You got anything, Miss Reggie?
So where do you get your motivation? Um, Go ahead.
I, my parents have been big supporters of me, and that's mainly where I get my work ethic and my motivation. Because they didn't let me fall into that Gen Z TikTok generation trap of whining and complaining and moaning and groaning and having no respect for hard work. They pushed me to my limit. They mainstream schooled me even when people told them no because they knew what I was capable of. They continued to fight for me, continued to support me, and I'm overall grateful for them. I truly am.
So as an adult, take us through Caton's day.
Y- Yeah, absolutely. Well, if it's a school day, I go to the meal hall, grab breakfast or whatever, head to class, do some studying, and then the day just repeats. There are some things I do to spice it up, like going out for a meal, buying hygiene products, that kind of thing. But I'm mainly focused on my academics. In fact, this past semester, I got my fourth consecutive Dean's List in a row.
So and what university are you attending?
Kent State University, just an hour away from where I'm at, which is Painesville.
And your major is public relations.
Yes, ma'am.
And when is your expected graduation date?
2026, 2 more years.
All right. All right. And so what are you going to do after you get that degree?
Well, I'm hoping, if I'm lucky, I'm interning for a couple of politicians right now. I'm hoping to get a career in political PR, see where that takes me.
Hmm. So, kid, what if you can speak for the autistic community right now, right? What are some of the things that's on y'all mind that y'all want to get out, either get off y'all chest or educate the public in some things that you find that we have trouble with understanding?
I would say mainly we need to be acknowledged more. We truly do. Not brief mentions when it's convenient for certain public politicians, not once a month, not dedicating a whole month, but we need to be acknowledged mainstreamly ASAP. Congress, White House, Senate, bills need to be passed to help those with autism, legislation needs to be looked into for if you commit a crime against someone with autism, should the sentence be even worse than if you were to commit that crime against a typical person, which is the politically correct term. And schools need to do better at accommodating those with autism and special needs. For example, holding a mandatory training program on special needs before the students allowed to enroll in the school, holding special needs training for parents, since it's my belief that everything starts at the home. And especially for teachers, most certainly, because a lot of news this year has made me sick when it comes to that. Teachers abusing those with autism, that is. And I feel you, Yana, especially schools that people need to take autism more seriously. No bullying, having stricter bullying policies would be a great start. Like if you bully someone with autism once, you get automatic expulsion, no second chances, because depending on the spectrum they're at, they don't know any better. They don't know what's going on. They don't understand the social situation. And as for teachers and faculty, like I said, mandatory autism training program, telling the class if someone has autism so that they can learn about it, and helping the parents better understand autism. Because, as I said, everything starts at home. If the parents worship someone like Alex Jones or Andrew Tate or Puff Daddy D with his home rating jet flying butt, and more likely than not, the child's going to go out and take their anger out on certain groups. And that's not what we want in society.
So let me ask you, through the education administrators and all of the experts in their fields, why do you think in the 21st century these things have not happened yet?
I think we're making progress, but we still got a long way to go. We do. We truly do. And it's even worse given how divided the country and the world is these days. It truly is. I think if we realize we all have a common goal of peace, love, and prosperity for all, then we can unify and make the world a better place for all people, especially those with autism and special needs.
Do you think the public takes autism as seriously as they should, Caden?
No, no, and I don't blame them because it's not acknowledged as much as it should. People in the LGBTQ community are. Race is acknowledged, immigration is acknowledged, but not special needs or the disability community. And it's honestly sad. And so I think it's on people like me and my generation to go out and advocate for the disabled community. Then it'll be acknowledged more and more.
So so on a national level, or I don't know if it's international, but on a national level, listening to one of the prior interviews that you've had, April is National Autism Month. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So are there any organizations nationally beyond April that are acknowledged through the autism community?
Hmm, Yeah, there's one really good one that I raised money for when I was first starting my advocacy work called Autism Society of America. They have some really good resources for those who are on the spectrum.
So, and let me ask you, so what is it that autism awareness, or what do they do in the month of April each year? Different organizations, what is it that we need to be looking out for so then maybe we can volunteer or have a better awareness that April is Autism Month besides just listening to it on the commercials? What is it that we could be doing or programs in our areas?
I would say go to your local autism center. See if you can get a job there or volunteer there. That's what I'm planning on doing this summer. I'm currently in the process of going through a background check for that. I mean, it might be odd to some of the caretakers, an autistic person working at an autism center, but I think it'll teach me to be humble. I'm where I'm at today.
Are there enough, in your opinion, opportunities in the world for autistic people?
I do think there are a lot of opportunities for everyone, but the problem is, even workplaces question certain people's capabilities, especially those on the autism spectrum. For example, me, I'm working at three different jobs, one of them being Dairy Queen, and all they have me doing all the time is folding boxes, doing cheeses, and mopping floors when I'm capable of so much more. I truly am. I used to work at Hardee's and Dunkin' at the same time in high school when I was in Tennessee, and I was taking orders and being my charismatic, goofy self.
Is the autistic community taken for granted, Kaden?
Absolutely, we are. Not necessarily the high functioning community, especially those who have made names for themselves in the worlds of sciences and the arts and that kind of thing, but the lower end of spectrum, because they aren't even given a chance.
How could we better give them a chance, Kaden?
Open more job opportunities for them, and don't question their capabilities and put them in a box.
You talk about your activism, and you said one of them. How many different organizations or causes, I should say, do you advocate for?
Well, autism awareness and autism acceptance are my main ones, but I also advocate for the LGBTQ community and parental rights.
So when you say autism acceptance, talk to the audience about the acceptance. Why is that so separate? Acceptance of autism.
It's not actually, it goes hand in hand with awareness, because once we're aware about people on the autism spectrum and people who might be a little bit different than, say, the president is, or the average business guy who goes to his corporate office job, then we can accept people with autism for who they are, or anyone for that matter, quite frankly.
You spoke about autistic people getting taken advantage of, and people with not the right. They don't have the best of intentions, right? Can you speak on that? How are some of the special needs people taken advantage of from what you've seen and what you've witnessed?
Hmm. I would say mainly due to their kindness and their willingness to help others. I said, no, I've had a boss that honestly used me for their own gains because of how sweet was and how helpful I was. I was able to get that squared away, but there might be someone who's on the lower end who's just as nice as I am that might not be so lucky.
Let me ask you this, Kaden. What's you seem very strong, very resilient, very optimistic about life, right? For the other autistic people who may not be as um, you know enthusiastic about life as you, can you speak some words of encouragement to them and give them some advice on how to get through life?
I would say push yourself to your limit and don't be ashamed of who you are. If people don't accept you for who you are, don't give them the time of day. Cut them off, especially if they're family members, because they're the ones who are going to be missing out on a really amazing person.
Kate, in some of your prior interviews, you were name dropping famous people that you have interviewed. So besides name dropping, tell us, how did you get to interview this person and why?
Mm, uh, yeah, absolutely. I'll start with what I'm most proud of, Temple Grandin, who's a major figure in the autism community. That was more for a class project. That interview's not really public, but uh, I did some fiddly farting around on Google, found her assistant's email, messaged her about getting in touch with Temple, and she gave me her number, and the rest is history. Yeah,
Anyone else?
that's pretty much the same thing I do with all my interviews for my writing. I search for people on Google, search for their contact information or their Facebook or their Instagram, send them a DM, ask if they want to do an interview with me, and I just go for it.
And who do you publish your writings through?
There's three different sites I do: the sports column, the site called The Everyday Fan, which also includes pop culture, and The Art of Autism. But I've also guest blogged for a site called The Homeschooling Network.
Hmm. So with you doing all of this, plus involved in what you do, does it ever get too much for you, Kaden?
No, never. I just have a really good work ethic, and if anything, I go crazy if I don't have anything to do. So nothing's too much for me.
Speak on how important your support system is, and how important a support system is for other autistic children.
It's super important to have great people in your corner because without great people, there's no future. There truly isn't. If you don't have someone who's willing to put the time and effort into you to make sure you get what you need and have a good future, then you're going to struggle. You truly are.
What's
Okay.
the what's the most important lesson that you've learned from life, Kaden?
To embrace who you are, embrace your gifts, and not to be ashamed of who you are. And most importantly, to have a good work ethic.
It's a lot of people getting plastic surgeries, BBLs, getting their nose done, lips done, changing faces. Could you really speak on embracing who you are?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't need all that plastic surgery and those chains and all of that because you're perfect as you are. And like I said, if people don't accept you for that, then don't give them the time of day.
How do you do it, Kaden? How do you keep going?
I
Why,
just have
why
a
haven't you given up yet?
I just have a really good work ethic and a sense of stubbornness to me. I never give up until I get what I want and the success I desire.
Is
Get
this
him, Caden, get him.
is is this world dangerous for autistic people?
I think it's dangerous for everyone right now, especially those with disabilities. That's just the way it is these days, and it's terrifying. It really is how divided everyone is. So, so I think for now, definitely not just for people with autism, but for everyone.
You say that legislation needs to change. You say that laws need to change, and you say that the way that you educate the teachers that educate autistic kids needs to change. How do we go about starting that, Kaden?
Mm, We simply choose to be kind to people and accept others for who they are, and to not have this sense of division that we have currently.
Do you know if there is, with your activism, is what I'm following here in that vein? Is there a political leader that is championing, being a champion for autism in the White House right now?
No, no, not that I've seen. The only thing that had to do with autism was President Trump back in 2019 passing a bill for those with autism, but that was only because his son was on the autism spectrum. spectrum. So that goes to show that certain politicians only do it when it's convenient for them.
And what was that? What did he sign? What did it funnel down from Washington D.C. all the way to Ohio?
Hmm. Not as far as I. No, I didn't even know about it until earlier this year, after reading an article.
Wow. Wow. You spoke on it not being enough resources, right? For you, like you said, you are high functioning, but for the lower ones, right? Can you speak on the troubles that you witnessed them having with the school system, with
Hmm.
learning and getting through, and maybe they were bullied too? Can you speak on what you've seen?
Well, I didn't really see much of that, but I would say the main thing I saw was all in the Autism Everyday movie, going back to that. There was definitely some bullying, not necessarily on the students' end, but on the parents' end, the parents that were featured in that documentary, because they didn't once, as far as I saw, tell their child, I love you, you're awesome. They complained how autism is like the military, you're basically drafted into having one. One autistic mom stood in front of a school with her autistic child and said, he can't go here because he's autistic. Da, da, da. One mom complained how she wants to go for bagels in one scene with her friends, but she can't because she has to facilitate therapy sessions. And the worst one I saw was one autism mom who said she thought about driving herself and her autistic daughter off the Washington Bridge because she couldn't handle it. And that was the main one that got me going when watching that. Because, like I said, there's a spectrum. The producers of that film focused only on the lower end of spectrum. They sort of focused on the higher end too, and those social struggles, especially in teenagers who are on the autism spectrum.
So can you just take while we have the time? I'm back at the acceptance piece. Um, for those of us that have you here before them, tell us how we can break down the barriers that we have, that you see that we have, that we don't accept, or we don't accept you the way you are. What is it about the everyone else around you in the environment that prevents us from accepting autism?
I would say definitely lack of knowledge and ignorance. Hardly anyone knows about it. And, and I would say that there are some evil people in this world, some people who want something to moan and groan and complain about, and something to go after. And I think if we eliminate that completely and choose kindness instead and compassion, then the world would definitely be a better place. It truly would be.
So you mentioned the teachers bullying as well. Could you take us through uh, what you meant about that, and could you give other autistic kids or just people period some advice what to do when getting bullied?
Hmm. I would say for those getting bullied, tell a teacher and stand up for yourself. So if it took me a long time to embrace who was and to raise up my self-esteem and learn how to stand up for myself, I'm still learning how to do that, but it's much easier now. And I would say, from what I've read, some faculty members at institutions sometimes use physical violence against those with autism. There was one incident I read on the news about some bus driver in Colorado, I believe, who smacked a 10-year-old nonverbal autistic student in the face. I talked with the school superintendent about that personally, and he was on the same page with me. Better hiring practices need to be implemented in certain schools, and more autism acceptance needs to be had.
So on the opposite end of that spectrum, then, tell us about those who fully accept you. How great is that experience or that relationship?
It's honestly really great because so those in college who accept me, they're mature adults. They don't see differences anymore, and they've grown out of that mindset of being bad and negative is cool. Well, in my opinion, as I said, there's still some people who still have that mindset. That's just life. But they're the ones who are going to live negative lives,
Mm.
I would say.
And that's where I was going. It's a difference between junior high, high school, and now you're at a university campus. Is it a much more mature crowd? Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Was it hard to transition from the high school setting to the college setting?
It was definitely hard because, like I said, I had my routine at home, but the more I did university, the more I learned to love it, just like everything else I've done. I truly did.
Are you in the dorm? Or are you commuting back and forth home?
Well, I'm in the dorm during the school year. I'm at my parents' place right now since the semester ended and now it's summer. I start back up in August. But
Awesome.
yeah, I'm living in the dorms.
What are some of the communication barriers between I forgot the terminology you use, regulars and autistic. What are some of the communication barriers?
Well, it all depends on the spectrum. Like I said previously, there are folks on the low functioning side who can't even talk. They respond in grunts and screams and stuff like that. I was
But they
nonverbal at
can
first.
understand though, right? They do understand, right?
Yeah, they understand what such person has to say, but they can't respond with their own thoughts, and that's definitely frustrating for those people.
Thanks. Thanks.
With all the technology that we have, is there any medicines or anything in technology wise that help in the area of autism?
No, no, hardly any. It's mainly therapies that help, like occupational therapy, physical therapy, ABA therapy, that kind of thing. And there are some medications out there that can help with certain issues, mental health issues like antipsychotics, but for those with autism, those medications make their symptoms even worse. So I took antidepressants briefly when I was a teenager, and those only made me angry. So I was cut off from those, which was honestly really great for me. It was much more healthier. And there are conspiracy theories out there about quote unquote cures that don't work from desperate parents who want attention. For example, bleach tablets. Let's where or think tablets made out of bleach chemicals that you're supposed to make your child take to cure autism. Those don't work. Those can have the potential to kill those with autism or anyone who takes them for that matter. Changing up the diet. Yeah, that's a rumored cure. Doesn't work. It might work for some, but not for others. But there's no known cure.
When
Wow.
you get down, kid, how do you pick yourself back up?
I, as I've been, I haven't been down as of recently, but because I haven't been giving people who doubt my capabilities the time of day.
So,
So you say you have to stay busy. I say that about myself too. It's just things that I want to do and that I think of all the time. And I think people who have a goal in mind always stay busy. What is um, anything that we can do for the audience if this is your moment to say anything that your heart's desire that we need to know in the communities that can help people with autism.
I would say mainly just be kind to people. It doesn't take much to be kind. And like I said previously, we need to be acknowledged more. Schools need to do their jobs and help those with autism. Parents need to at least give their child with autism a chance. And to, for those in society, just be kind to people. It doesn't take a lot to be kind. Thanks for having me.
Take us out, Miss B.
Thank you, KADIN, for being with the Hour with the Elders. Such an inspiration. Thank you for being with us in the 24/7 grind, because this man is always grinding. On another dope segment with Kate MCElWAIN, Hour with the Elders, where we bridge the gap of information, experience, and wisdom, dropping those gems and jewels for those who are committed to making a difference in their communities. Way to go, Camden. Glad to have you. Thank you for being with us in the 24/7 grind on another dope segment, Hours with the Elders, where we bridge the gap of information, experience, and wisdom, dropping gems and jewels for those who are committed to making a difference in their communities.